Apostle. It's an honor to be here. It's been quite some time. This is family and home for me, so I'm cool. I was in New York visiting family and just finished about a month ago my second fight with colon cancer. I was diagnosed with stage 3, and they had found actually cancer cells in my lymph node system, and so we just came through, just got news a couple weeks ago that I'm in remission, and so I was here visiting family, and a friend of mine said, I said, man, call Apostle Wilson, tell him I'm close, I want to have lunch. He said, man, you better come on and preach. So I'm glad to be here. He is my friend, and over the last 5 years we've been through a lot, and part of that has been dealing with cancer and ulcerative colitis. I was in the hospital for 41 days 4 or 5 years ago, and actually in a coma for 5 days, and I thought my ministry was over, and folks kept telling me, say, you are all over YouTube. And I said, well, who put me on YouTube? And they said, well, you know, Apostle Wilson got you all over YouTube. And so they couldn't get rid of me if they wanted to. Folks all in Russia writing me, and Uzbekistan. They translated some of the preaching here into Russian, so I'm in your church preaching Russian, and we serve a mighty God. He is an awesome God and a majestic God. Bear with me. I've been through hell, Gehenna, Hades, for the Latinos, Infierno. For the church mothers, y'all gonna have to bear with me. I've been through some stuff, so y'all, I'm a little more raw than I was before. But and when you've been through something, your message changes. Not that you didn't have a message before, but it becomes relevant. I am a theologian. I have the benefit of academia, but suffering will take Greek words and make them English. Will make Hebrew practical and Aramaic at home. And so this is my friend. He has always been a friend and colleague in ministry. Bear with me. Everything that I preach is from the text, and you do. If we deal with the idea of the sociological, anthropological question that man is both a being who is called to be man and to live in community with other men, when we deal with the idea, the question of religion and spirituality, how does it begin? Where does it go? How does it fulfill our inner needs? It would be mindful for us to look at antediluvian man. Antediluvian is man at his most primitive state. Man comes out of his house, sees a flower. The flower is growing. The flower is facing the sun. He then derives that the flower benefits from the sun. It is healthy because of the sun. So it is the natural formation of the Greeks call paideia, or a thinking intellectual man, to equate then the sun with the divine. This is where men and the Greeks, not only the Greeks, but the Egyptians eventually begin to name that god Ra and call that idea of the sun God. And so in their mind, if the plant is benefiting from the sun, then the sun must be God. And then they look that when it begins to rain, that the flower now begins to produce more flowers and fruit and begins to grow stronger. So therefore the rain must be God. This is the natural process of man trying to find his intellectual stability as well as his spiritual importance. He then identifies the rain as God and identifies the sun as God. But now he realizes that when it rains too much, the flower that once benefited from the rain now is being destroyed by the same rain. So man begins to think that rain, which is a god in his mind, then has some good days and some bad days. There are some times that the rain god and the sun god likes me, and there are other times that the rain god and the sun god doesn't like me. So how then can I control or manipulate? Because the conflict that man will always deal with is that he will always try to manipulate the divine. He will move from worship to witchcraft because he will try to make God work for him by forgetting he was made to work for God. Hang out. So the intellectual question becomes the question of, is God bipolar, and do the gods need Prozac and lithium? Can the same God who loves me hate me? And can the same God who is displeased with me turn around and love me? So what happens is men who understand the disposition of the divine try to market, take advantage, prostitute, and pimp spirituality. So then, what's the best way to benefit at your expense? The best way to benefit at your expense is to teach that I have a special place with God that you can't have. I have information that you cannot access. So, if you want to get to him, you got to trust me. And so when things go wrong, what I do then is I tell you, if you want the gods to be happy, let's give some offerings. Because the more you give, the more he will be, the less he will be displeased. So now the association is, if God's angry, I need to give more. Now watch. Then the contrary disposition is, if God is happy, to keep him happy, I need to give more. So that my giving is no longer a gift. It is witchcraft. You don't hear me. You don't hear me. We're coming to Christmas. If the only reason you are giving someone a gift is to get a gift in return, you have not actually given anything. Because whatever leaves your pocket, if you intend it to come back into your pocket, then it has cost you nothing. Therefore, the motivation is not love. So, I'll do it, man. I ain't preaching 4 years. I got a lot to say. Watch. So watch what he says. Abram, God says, this is how we roll. I don't want you to offer anything that you don't think I already deserve. See, if you got to beg them and promise them cars and promise them husbands and promise them money, then I don't want those offerings. But I want people to say, when I think of the goodness of Jesus and he's done. You don't hear me. If he never does another thing, if he never gives me another dime, if he never, he's done. Touch someone, say he's done enough. He's done enough. Watch. Now, what I do when I come into his house is Abram says, I believe you. God says, this is how I work. I initiate the relationship. Watch. You ain't getting it. See, you aren't good enough to know me, but I am God enough to know you.